What was it about your character when you were reading it on the page that spoke to you, made you want to sign on for this?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's that he's a dreamer. I think first and foremost, I think every actor can relate to that feeling of like, you know, not wanting to give up on that dream. And I think Michael or Dad is in that very precarious place in his life where he's being faced with a lot of responsibility and this overwhelming pressure to like face reality and to be pragmatic and to I guess in some ways do the reasonable thing as a parent and to put the needs of the family first, and I think. And I don't think that in any world that, any dad sets out to be, to be absentee or to not do that. But I think the question is in what way do you want to show up as a parent, right? Because I remember having the exact same thought when I was struggling as an actor of like, well, if I ever start a family, how am I gonna make ends meet? And am I doing the reasonable thing and continuing to kind of pursue this pipe dream of being an actor? And then, it's like, well, there's the pragmatic element of it, and then there's the emotional element of it, right? And there's the like wanting to lead by example and wanting your kids to know or to grow up with knowing that their parents did everything they could and pursued their dreams and followed their passion and gave it a good and decent shot. And I think that's the thing that eats away at Michael is the like, if I give up, what example am I setting for my kids? Because life isn't just about compromise. Life should be about taking risks, and life should be about following, realizing what your dreams are and giving yourself permission to pursue them and then doing it. And so, I think it's hard for dreamers to kind of face the music in that and to be forced in a way to come to reality when I think you could argue it's the right thing to do in this case.
I love what you said with realizing your dreams because it's a little interpretive, right?
Yeah.
There's what you want the dream to mean and maybe what you need the dream to mean.
Sure.
What was that like for you in your career? What were some of the dreams where you're like, maybe this isn't necessarily what I'm thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I think I grew up with maybe not the strongest sense of self. I think my parents, instilled a very kind of rigid definition of success in me very early on, and I think that's something that honestly a lot of people can probably relate to, and particularly children of immigrants. Growing up in a foreign environment, I think there was a lot of focus towards academia and towards getting good grades and getting a good job. And it wasn't necessarily about, we didn't have the luxury of like, figuring out what our dreams were, talking about our dreams. It was like, no, you get A's and you get a job, right? And so I think I was operating under that notion for like probably most of my life. And then, I turned 22 and I graduated from college and I got a job and I showed up to my first day of work and I was like, oh, shoot. This is what it is, and there was this kind of like disappointment that came with that and of being in a job and being in a situation where I didn't really feel like was particularly fulfilling for me. And so, yeah, that's kind of my relationship to it, is that I didn't even have the ability or maybe the sense of, the self-awareness to kind of check in with myself all throughout that whole process. And it wasn't until I got fired from that job because I was so bad at it, and also because I skipped work to be an extra on a movie set, that I finally kind of had the chance to sit with myself and to say, wait, is this even what I really want? Like, why am I so broken up about this? And then from that point onwards, I was like, well, I might as well do what makes me happy now, because clearly I failed miserably at trying to live out somebody else's version of success. And yeah, once I kind of made that promise to myself, I started to get a whole lot happier. Even if the financial element did not kick in right away, there was a lot of years in between. But yeah, I was happier than I'd ever been. And I think when you live life on your terms, success or fail, you're happier.